Welcome back. That was author Heather Graham. You're listening to Stribling's New York on WOR AM Radio 710 on your digital dial and iHeartMedia Company. Today is Author's Day. In preparation for this week's Thriller Fest at the Hyatt Hotel, people should just wander in. It's from July 6th through 9th, I believe, and just Google Thriller Fest. I should have I think it's thrillerfest.com, but nonetheless, we have somebody here who's attending Thriller Fest. New York Times bestselling author C.J. Box is on the phone. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So tell us about, you've got a new book that was released in March. It's already on the New York Times bestseller list, Off the Grid.
Right,
it's
right.
A thriller.
Yeah, it actually debuted at number one. And it's the 16th Joe Pickett novel. Joe Pickett is a Wyoming game warden, and all of the books are kind of outdoor settings, included a lot of current issues and controversies, and luckily they've done very well.
So your bio says you've hunted, fished, hiked, ridden, and skied throughout Wyoming and
That's
the Mountain West. In fact, last week we just had somebody on from the American River Touring Association, as I've done a lot of whitewater rafting out west. But I'm a New Yorker. I wouldn't call myself an outdoorsy type. So what kind of readers do you get for your books?
Well, it runs the gamut. You think there'd be a certain demographic for them, maybe outdoor-oriented people, and that's certainly the case. But it's all age groups. It's people who some readers never go outdoors, but they kind of like to live vicariously.
So they live vicariously through your books, of course.
Yeah.
It's like, I've never gone outdoors, but I read books by C.J. Box, and that satisfies everything for me.
That's right, and I feel it's my duty to go out there and do all these things so I can write about them accurately. In fact, I just got off a Whitewater River a couple of days ago. I did an overnight float and fishing trip, and
we're jealous.
Recovering now.
Where were you? Which river?
It's the North Platte River. It's kind of on the Colorado-Wyoming border.
I've not been to Wyoming. I get really tangential and digress too much, but there's a great line in the movie Dog Day Afternoon when John Cazale is playing Al Pacino's sidekick, and they're holding hostages, and they want to get a plane from the FBI, and he goes, "Sal, what country would you like to go to?" He goes, I would like to go to Wyoming.
I remember seeing that and moaning.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm here with a guy who thinks Wyoming is a country.
That's right. It kind of is, actually.
Well, it is kind of. I've been to Montana. I've been to Colorado, Utah. I'm going back to Utah this summer. So we were talking to Steve Berry and Heather about their backgrounds, which is what I think, and I said at the intro of the show, what's so fascinating about writers is you could have 100 different writers, and they're all bestsellers. They're all very good, but their process is different, and the way they got to where they are is wildly different. So what was your journey?
Well, I was a journalist first, right out of college, and in fact, in the town that we now have a little ranch outside at, Saratoga, Wyoming, my first job. And as a journalist, I was covering all sorts of outdoor issues, environmental issues, a lot of the controversial energy stuff, wildlife stuff, animals, endangered species, and I became fascinated with that. And I thought at the time that I'd read very few books that portrayed those issues in a balanced way. And that was sort of the goal, was to write a book about the Endangered Species Act, which later became Open Season, the first Joe Pickett novel. And so the idea was just to, give a good portrait of modern-day Mountain West, what it's like, the culture, people, the issues, and that's led to a lot more books.
That's great.
And have you ever brought your hero to the big city? Like
no, I have not. Although I've been
about that
times. If I could ever figure out a way that it wouldn't be too unnatural for a Wyoming game warden to come to New York City, I might do it. But it always seems a stretch when.
Okay, I'll give you some. I got a quick idea. As a journalist as well, I remember calling the news about this. This is years ago. I lived at 72nd and Park, and short walk to Central Park. And I was walking my dog into the park at night about 10 o'clock, and I see a doorman pointing up at this tree that's on the east side of Fifth Avenue. So you're not even in the park yet. And there were 3 raccoons there. So somehow they made it over from New Jersey, supposedly, on according to a New Jersey game warden, over the GW Bridge. So I don't know if there's anything that Joe Pickett can chase all the way from Wyoming, but
well, they could. I have thought of a falconry angle.
Okay.
Because, I write about falconry a lot, and one of the main characters, Nate Romanowski's a falconer, and I know that there's some falconry being done in New York City for pigeon problems. So there's a possibility, but that's quite a stretch.
Yeah, we use fake owls to scare off the pigeons. That's the big thing.
I do too.
They're incredibly effective in plastic. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you this week at Thriller Fest. Do you have a website that you want people to go to?
Sure, cjbox.net.
Okay, and we're at CJ Box Author on Twitter. So
That's
everybody
right.
should go there. I'm going to follow you shortly. Thanks so much for joining us. See you soon.
Look at my river rafting photos.
Okay.